All right, I got a little bit of a hot take for y'all, okay? It's hot take season, and I think Kirby Smart is handling the transfer portal as well as any college football coach across the country, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. Now, the transfer portal spring opening is here. At the time I'm making this video, Andrew Paul, backup running back, is the only guy to enter the portal so far. And that was somewhat to be expected, right? They've got Roderick Robinson, they've got Trevor Etienne, they've got Branson Robinson, they've got Nate Frazier coming in this summer, who, if y'all been watching my videos, you know all about Nate Frazier. That dude's a dog now. He's going to push those other guys for playing time too. So Andrew Paul, a Texas native, probably going to have a better situation, see more carries out a lot of other places other than Georgia. So that wasn't a surprise. But what I've come to realize is that Kirby Smart doesn't need the transfer portal to win a national championship. They use the transfer portal when they want to, not when they need to. Just about every other program out there needs to hit the transfer portal really, really hard. And Georgia doesn't hit it nearly as much as a lot of other programs do. A lot of teams and coaches use it as a way to just really revamp their roster more and more year over year. And they're taking in more and more transfers. Now, Kirby's, he said in the past, hey, we've got a lot of new faces, right? And they did take those guys. But I don't think any of it was a need. They didn't need Colby Young. They wanted Colby Young. And they got him. Did they need his size? Probably. But I think they could have had a very, very good season and possibly win a national championship without Colby Young, right? Trevor Etienne, somewhat of a need, but I think it was more of a want. They wanted to go out and get an experienced veteran guy who brings some speed. It was somewhat needed, but it wasn't this absolutely have to go out and get someone. I do think they wanted badly to go get Trevor Etienne or a guy that does what he does, right? But, they didn't need Lawrence Cager in 2019. They wanted him. And when they want a guy, they've got a plan for that guy. So they don't just go out and take guys out of the portal to take them. In their mind, they want to develop the players that they recruit out of high school. They don't want a super revolving door. A lot of coaches want the revolving door. They want guys to leave and come back. I think Georgia still needs 2 guys to leave for a numbers perspective. But if it were up to them, all of the guys that they recruited, they would develop them the way they want to, and all those guys would stick around and go to the NFL. But that's not a perfect world. It's not an ideal world. But the way Kirby Smart is running his program now, it is more of a, we want to go get this guy out of the portal, not necessarily a need. And at the same time, he does a good job of keeping his guys around too. Again, it goes back to the revolving door. If you want to leave, that's fine. And most of the time when a kid leaves or transfers from Georgia, I'm not just saying this because I cover the team. A lot of it's because they're not playing. And they're not going to play more next year. They see the writing on the wall. Brock Vandergrift's really good. He had to transfer. Justin Fields had to transfer. And then you got a guy like Jamon Dumas-Johnson. He figured out that he had to transfer because he had a guy like C.J. Allen behind him. But, I think the biggest impact guy to transfer or leave was A.D. Mitchell last year going to Texas. And he did, that was a big family reason why. It's not like he was not enjoying Athens or not seeing the field. He was obviously a big-time playmaker. But he left for family reasons and will always kind of be a dog, right? But Don Blaylock, as good as he was when he was healthy, he had to leave. Rarely will you see a guy leave Georgia who could have made a big impact the next year, right? And it's the same with, bringing him in. Is Xavier McLeod going to be this superstar defensive lineman? No, I think they wanted another guy. They didn't need him. They didn't need Jake Pope, but they wanted him, and they got him. So they didn't need Trey McKitty at tight end. They wanted him. Again, you need to recruit and develop. And maybe there comes a time where they need to go get a guy, but because of how well they recruit, this is the point I'm trying to make. Because they recruit so well, they don't necessarily need guys out of the transfer portal, or else they'll have this crazy bad season. Georgia's going to be really, really good for a long, long time. They're always going to be able to compete for national championships as long as Kirby is there. And it goes to the fact that, I see all the time, this is a must-have recruit for Georgia. No, it's not. No, it's not. No one's a must-have recruit. If Georgia misses on their top guy, they're going to be just fine. Other programs can't say that, and other programs need guys out of the transfer portal basically for the depth. Georgia's got depth. I know Kirby says, we're not deep here, we're not deep here. They're still deeper than most teams, even when Kirby doesn't believe it. Georgia does have depth and talent, because the talent leaving is the talent that's not playing, if that makes sense. But I do think he treats the transfer portal probably the way a lot of other coaches should, where it's not a ton of guys leaving that you want. The guys leaving are leaving because they need to or want to. And the guys you bring in, if you're living by the transfer portal with, we need a quarterback, we need a linebacker, we need an offensive tackle, we need a receiver. If they become needs, you're in a tough spot, because you shouldn't need guys out of the transfer portal if you're a program that's competing for national championships. If you're rebuilding, sure, go get all the guys you can. Georgia's not rebuilding. They're not in the same place that Ole Miss is, right? And other programs who are using the transfer portal in a big way and a good way. South Carolina's got to use it because their best players are leaving through the transfer portal. Sorry, I had a phone call come up. I had to swipe it. I had to swipe left. But that's really the point here. I don't think Georgia's ever going to need guys out of the portal, and they don't have to hit the transfer portal the same way as other teams. So far, it's been a pretty quiet period with the opening coming up. And again, right now, if you're Georgia, you don't really need to add guys. You need another quarterback, but you don't need another running back because one just left. You don't need another wide receiver. You got three for fun, basically. Colby Young, London Humphreys, Michael Jackson. They could have kept some of those younger guys around, but the younger guys wanted to play, and that's when they knew they had to go get other receivers. Guys with experience who can play. London Humphreys was a freshman, but he still played a lot. So they went and got those guys because they knew some of the younger guys were not getting the opportunities with Ra Thomas and Dom Lovett and Dylan Bell still in front of them. So they left. So you brought those guys in. It turned out to be a need in a way because the other guys were leaving, but it's still more of a want. They wanted to provide more depth. I don't know how much we're going to see London Humphreys and Michael Jackson, but they wanted those guys for depth purposes. And again, if you start needing guys, especially in multiple positions, it's tough to keep a program sustainable because you can't do that every year. And Kirby's at the point where they can go get guys they want, and guys are going to leave a little bit here and there. But I don't ever expect this mass exodus or this mass incoming of transfers. There's always going to be some new names, and they did take quite a few, right? 3 receivers, a defensive back, a defensive lineman, a tight end, Ben Yurcek. So they're using the portal. But again, did they need that tight end from Stanford? They needed the number because Pierce Spurlin left. They didn't need the talent. And so I will go back and say that sometimes you need to have the numbers there. But from a talent perspective, they're going to be fine. And you add good pieces to the already great pieces that are there. So in a way, when Ohio State needs to bring in guys, I think they needed Caleb Downs more than Georgia did. But they still have guys leaving. They just had a running back, I think, bounce. So, but they also brought one in from Ole Miss. So it just seems like other programs outside of Clemson, there's so much coming in, there's so much coming out. And at Georgia, I don't think it's ever going to be that way because they can pick and choose. And if they want a guy from the transfer portal, more often than not, they're going to get him. They did not get Caleb Downs. But that's one of the, just one guy that was really, really good that they wanted and didn't land. But Georgia didn't need Caleb Downs. They wanted him. They didn't need Xavier McLeod. They wanted him. I don't think they needed Colby Young, but they wanted him, so they got him. They need a quarterback for depth purposes, but they don't need a guy to come in and start. They don't need starters. Other programs, most programs need starters. I'm not sure how many of these guys that are transferring into Georgia will be starters. Maybe Colby Young. I don't know if he's going to start because you got other guys who have been around, but he's definitely going to play. But if you get into a position where starters are leaving consistently and you're having to bring in guys from the portal who should be starters, that's not a good way to keep up a program. Kirby Smart knows that, and he's using the transfer portal in his way, and it might be the best way of anyone out there, at least up there as one of the more efficient ways of using the portal as far as other big-time college football coaches. Thanks for watching this video. Sign up to our free newsletter. That link is down below. You can read a lot of other free stories we have over on Dawg Post. So really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over on the website.